Welcome to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL 950 AM 100.3 FM, and you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. We are here every single Monday through Friday, playing the interviews, the information, the commentary, everything that helps to build your faith. And tune us in. Let people know where they can find us on the radio and on the podcast. Well, we're listening to Colin Miller, who's the author of We Are Only Saved Together, Living the Revolutionary Vision of Dorothy Day and the Catholic Worker Movement, published in August by Ave Maria Press. You can find it on at your favorite Catholic bookstore, and also on the online bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc., etc. So definitely, if you're interested, check it out. And we've been discussing to him all about Catholic worker spirituality. Let's go to the final part of the interview now. I try to deal with things as I can. And, of course, some people say, well, you should call the police. I says, no, I'm not going to call the police. For it obviously would be something serious that would be different. Right. But if you got some kids hanging around or something like that, in a park or somewhere on the property, I'm like, no. And then the police have more important things to do, and they're happy that they're here and not causing trouble somewhere else.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true.
You also did a whole chapter on what is the very core of Catholic worker spirituality, voluntary poverty. Now, is that something that all became part of you as you started reading a lot about Dorothy and Peter and their sources, and became part of it? That's something that you came to understand as well, not so much that you understood when you went to Duke at the very beginning.
I think so. I mean, I was always a Bible guy, and so I guess the teachings of Jesus about money were there, but you don't take it seriously until someone says, "Hey, you should take this seriously," because he, as I say in the book, he teaches about money more than any other single topic, and that should give us pause. And so then finding Dorothy and Peter, these two people who took Jesus seriously and said, no, we should be striving. Even lay people should be striving for simplicity of life and even voluntary poverty as much as we can. Is inspiring. And then you go back and you look and you start to see, the history of the church, the history of the saints is a history of people who in all sorts of different ways incorporated that simplicity of life into their paths of holiness. And so it became for me, St. Francis of Assisi has always been one of my favorite saints, and he's just such a wonderful personality, and he is, of course, known primarily as the garden gnome, or the patron saint of flowers and the environment and being nice to people. But he, when you go back and you get into St. Francis, he's a gritty guy who took the gospel seriously and espoused himself to Lady Poverty, and that became very attractive to me. And Dorothy and Peter lived it out in a way that I live it out in a very imperfect way, and Peter and Dorothy lived it out in a very inspiring way.
Absolutely powerful in there. In the way they lived and demonstrated that. And of course, I'm here in Boston. I'm only 4 hours from New York. So I go down to New York every so often. And I remember I saw a guy who was homeless who had no shoes. And the first thing I thought of, which I couldn't do, was Peter would have taken off the shoes and given it to him. And that also brings up another thing. as well, because when we look at the way the media reports everything, it reports it from a perspective that's really based on the American idea and the American dream and everything else. So you've got these realities that happen in the poor areas of the city, which will never appear on TV except as a documentary or something like that. But what people don't understand is the poor area of the cities become like the research and development part of a society. There are so many things that are going on there that are not what you see in TV. And they are just great communities, great people coming together, and they were certainly in touch with that.
I mean, especially today when you can find areas, pockets of community in cities or wherever it is that are not so linked into sort of the individualistic, technological siloed existence, but where people actually rub shoulders with each other every day and are about each other's business and are in each other's lives. Sometimes, the more wealth you have, the more we are able to reach for things like technology and services and things that keep us apart. More money becomes actually becomes a way that we degrade community, and so sometimes you can find poorer areas much better on that front.
And that is so true, and it is something that so often the media doesn't get. We had an experience a long time experience, and this was during the height when there was the movement to keep the faith and change the church, so to speak, and they had this big mass at Boston Common, and people came from the suburbs and to do this mass because they were coming together. It was kind of like a protest mass to change the church. 10 blocks away, there were parents on their knees in prayer. Of course, that's in the inner city, in prayer that their children would come home safe, because there were issues of gangs, there were issues of all these other things, and the media never gets that, has ever gotten that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think we tend to associate community renewal or neighborhood renewal with sending in more social workers, doctors, teachers, more money, more services. And I think that actually has, with the best of intentions, I think that actually has the opposite effect of what something like a Catholic doctrine of subsidiarity would have, namely letting people solve their own problems and create their own community. When you send in all these exterior services, what you're doing is grafting the people's social bonds out of that community and onto these external institutions, services, agencies that provide professionalized care, and people no longer need one another because they need these professionalized services. But what that does is it makes people who now might live close to one another but have no need for one another. And so you don't see one another, you don't know one another, you're not interested in common good, common projects, things like that. And so lots of times poorer neighborhoods have better communities than than neighborhoods with all the cash.
And one thing I kind of pick on the media in that sense. I come from a media background. My father wrote for the Boston Globe. And obviously I do media as well. So it's not so much I'm picking on the media as much as that's the image people see, and they don't understand what goes on behind that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And these, like for example, I dealt with many people who when I worked in an inner city environment, and I'm still in the city, but obviously surrounded by Harvard. It's not an inner city environment. And one of the things that people don't understand is you do have this deep community, and you have people who have lots of money there, but they don't want to leave and go to the suburbs because these are their people where they are in the inner city.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, I've greatly enjoyed taking this time to speak with you, and your book is great. It's called "We Are Only Saved Together: Living the Revolutionary Vision of Dorothy Day and the Catholic Worker Movement" by Colin Miller. And it's from Ave Maria Press, and as I said, it came out in August, probably about 10 minutes before I bought it.
I'm so happy to have met my first customer.
There you go. Well, again, we've enjoyed our discussion this week with Colin Miller, author of the book We Are Only Saved Together, Living the Revolutionary Vision of Dorothy Day and the Catholic Worker Movement. And it's published by Ave Maria Press in August of 2024. It's available at your favorite Catholic bookstore. If they don't have it, I'm sure they can order it for you. And you obviously can find it at AveMariaPress.com and any of the online bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, et cetera, et cetera. And what a great book. And it really talks about putting this vision into practice here in 2024. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow and I'll discuss more about the Catholic Worker Vision and everything else. And don't forget, we have a meeting on Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m., Dorothy Day Faith Forum. You're welcome to attend. Have yourself a blessed day. We will see you tomorrow. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out catholictv.com. If you're searching for a meaningful spiritual experience, look no further than St. Anthony's Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. Join us at 43 Holton Street in between Soldiers Field Road and the Mass Pike. Immerse yourself in the complete St. Anthony's Parish encounter through our 10 o'clock a.m. chanted Mass. Whether you're a Catholic seeking a parish to call home or someone looking for spiritual guidance, our welcoming community is here for you. Visit our website at www.stanthonyalston.org for more information. St. Anthony's Parish, where faith finds a home.